An NBA team revealed a Seattle Kraken's Winter Classic jersey, and a pro wrestling outfit gave us our first look at the Golden Knights. And yes, it's all very weird. That and a lot more news from the past couple of weeks in this Icethetics Flash Report for November 22nd. I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. All right, let's start here. The Utah Jazz inserted themselves into the hockey jersey conversation on Friday night with a handful of social media posts. The NBA team shared video clips and photos from a couple of unique player arrivals. Unique because they were wearing hockey jerseys, and not just any hockey jerseys, the as-yet unreleased Winter Classic jersey for the Seattle Kraken. So how and why did this happen? Even as I edit this video, it's still not entirely clear to me. Neither the NHL nor the Kraken seem to be commenting. Event jersey releases are usually under the league's purview, so the Kraken might not even be involved in this. That said, their mascot Bowie posted this video with Utah's mascot, Jazz Bear. Are the Kraken calling the Jazz's premature jersey reveal a slap in the face? Or was this all a planned stunt, meant to look spontaneous? Earlier in the week, the LA Kings-focused blog Mayor's Manor reported that both Winter Classic jerseys would be revealed on Thursday, but Thursday came and went with no jerseys. Then, the apparent leak by the Jazz on Friday. Since then, I've gotten multiple conflicting reports about when the official reveal would be, and about another off-brand stunt release for the Golden Knights outdoor jersey. Then in the middle of all that, this. Apparently, All Elite Wrestling, and bear with me here because I know less than nothing about wrestling, posted this video promoting an event with their hosts wearing both of the unreleased Winter Classic jerseys. And at this point, it's looking less like an error and more like the most bizarre NHL jersey release in recorded history. Then, I was talking about it all with a coworker who pointed out the NBA and AEW are both broadcast properties of TNT, just like the NHL and the Winter Classic in particular. Is that the answer here? I don't know, but it is worth pointing out. So what about an official release? You know, with comments from the league and the teams involved? Well, I have one person telling me it's later today, in fact, another saying the day after Thanksgiving, and still another telling me next Friday. I can only imagine the NHL is being intentionally obtuse about this release, and I cannot figure out why. Hopefully they explain all that at some point. That and why a random NBA team would be part of an NHL outdoor jersey launch. But maybe it's not so random. Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith has declared an interest in owning an NHL franchise, and the NHL is on record with Salt Lake City being among the places they'd consider for future expansion. How that relates, I have no idea. This all seems very uncoordinated to me, but not everyone agrees, of course. Some think the NHL is doing some clever cross-promotion with the NBA and AEW, but I just don't see it. It all feels a bit too messy. And speaking of messy, this is one of those rare instances when the majority of fans seem to love a new uniform design and I don't. I know, it's a new Kraken jersey, I should be over the moon. And look at all the historical callbacks. Since the hat leak in August, we've known the crest is inspired by the old Seattle Metropolitans team that won the Stanley Cup in 1917. Now we can see the jersey has that barber pole striping pattern with some modern colors. This kind of got teased in the Kraken's brand release video from July 2020, if you can believe it. As they flash up a bunch of Metropolitans players, there's a quick frame in which the original S was replaced with the new one, a real blink and you'll miss it moment, 3 years in the making. Now, all of that usually works on me, but not here. This feels like a lot of great ideas that just did not come together as a whole. Maybe it's the colors. The vintage white, which I don't typically love anyway, feels forced on this jersey. Why not just stick with the varying shades of blue in the Kraken color palette? Same story with the red S. I know it was red on the Metropolitans jersey, but it just feels forced on this one. Maybe if the ice blue stripes were red instead. I don't know, just trying to offer solutions to go with the complaints. This is a really great recoloring here. Anyway, I don't want to harp on this because I know I'm in the minority. I just think I expected more from the Adidas design team for their big Winter Classic Swan song. And honestly, Vegas is no better. The lighting in this video is intense, but that does look like more vintage white. Someone should really put a stop to this madness, and I want to know the story behind this new V crest before I make any further comments. Last thing worth mentioning here, though, is the collar design, because I've gotten questions about how different it is. Only, it's not. It's the exact collar design Adidas has used on their Winter Classic jerseys every year except last year. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2022, and now 2024. So let's put a pin in it there. We'll come back to all this when the release is official. I suspect we'll get more teasers like this, but I hope soon we'll see these sweaters on hockey players wearing full gear. No pun intended there, so that we can actually see what to expect on the ice come New Year's Day. Let's switch gears now to another outdoor event, the 2024 Stadium Series in New Jersey. The official event logo was finally revealed to us back on November 1st. It's the first time I can recall handwritten typography in one of these logos. The Winter Classic does it all the time with the winter scripts and those marks. Stadium Series is usually a bit more buttoned up. It's a great look, and there's one subtle feature of this design that I wanted to talk about, a trend that's been popping up in the NHL in recent years, that being the lack of an outline or stroke around the logo. Every Stadium Series logo up to now has used a silver or white stroke to distinguish it over a dark background. But not this one. In fact, the proper way to show this logo over black is like this, where you sort of lose the black edges, yet the logo's shape is still retained. The same is true of the 2024 Winter Classic logo, where it looks like this over a light color, and those edges vanish over deep sea blue, again, without losing the definition of the logo itself. Far as I can tell, this trend began with the Kraken logo itself, which has this heavy dark blue stroke that disappears when placed over that same blue to allow the S to shine on its own. As I understand it, this was a result of adding the red eye to the logo. Originally, so I'm told, the Adidas design team was pitching these two S's, different color schemes over different backgrounds, like we see with the Lightning and Maple Leafs, for example. But then, there's a well-told story about how majority owner David Bonderman decided that logo needed a menacing red eye. The designers had to redraw the S to incorporate the eye, but without the deep sea blue behind it, it wasn't nearly as menacing, hence the thick outline surrounding the logo when used over white. Needless to say, when this strokeless style works, it really works. This past week, I have been in New York City, a trip which included a stop-off at the new NHL shop, now located just a couple of blocks from Madison Square Garden, rather than Rockefeller Plaza. While I was away, the Carolina Hurricanes got busy with another new Hartford Whalers throwback jersey. This is the third one when you factor in their gray reverse retro. They basically have home, away, and alternate designs at this point, which would come in handy if Hartford ever gets a team back. And really, doesn't it look great in white? There are two amazingly fun features of this new look. First, Pucky the Whale is back. It was so good to see him again, I even picked up a Pucky t-shirt at the NHL store. The Pucky shoulder patch was not present on the green throwbacks, which debuted in 2018, but it was seen on the gray reverse retros. In fact, the whole jersey template is basically a copy of that reverse retro, with the gray swapped for white. The colors of the collar were also switched. The other new feature will only be seen in warm-ups. Cooperalls return in glorious green. We saw the Flyers do this for Reverse Retro 2.0 last season. The Flyers and Whalers were the only NHL teams to wear Cooperalls back in the early 1980s. Again, this is for warm-ups only. The long pants are a bit too dangerous for normal game action. It's nice to see the Whalers brand kept alive, even if it can't be in Hartford for now. We got a few more jersey reveals this week outside the NHL. The Calgary Wranglers, AHL affiliate of the Flames, revealed their new third jersey on Friday. Like their parent club's third, it's black and features Blasty, the fire-breathing horse. Only this is the Wranglers' side profile version of Blasty, now with black added to the red and yellow version they launched last year. They call it their Outlaw jersey and use the colors and base template of the Flames' original Blasty third jersey from 1998. Great little callback there. Elsewhere, the new Women's League, the PWHL, revealed their official logo back in late October. The simplified mark is just the W, appropriately. Then on Tuesday, we finally got the jerseys, but they were not quite what anyone was expecting. They are rather generic. While each design uses a templated diagonal text treatment, they all have unique colors and striping patterns. Boston will wear forest green and gray. Minnesota gets purple and black. That's not bad, actually. New York will have turquoise and navy blue, a nod to the Statue of Liberty, perhaps. Montreal goes with burgundy, sand, and storm for their color scheme. That's right, not black, not charcoal or dark gray. It's called storm. Ottawa will be red and storm. Yep, that again. And Toronto is blue and black. And honestly, a shade of blue I always hoped the Lightning might experiment with. Almost Icethetics blue, really. So what about the team names? Nope. No names. No logos either. This is really the only time I've ever seen a league launch without having proper identities for its teams. But this is all temporary anyway. The PWHL says they want to take the time to get their branding right, so for this inaugural season only, which begins in January, their original 6 teams will simply be known by their location and colors. As odd as it will be to have a league full of teams with no names, this is probably for the best. It's been a race to the finish since the league was announced over the summer. Since then, a company called PWHL Holdings filed trademark applications in the US for these names: Boston Wicked, Minnesota Superior, Montreal Echo, New York Sound, Ottawa Alert, and Toronto Torch. Fan reaction was mostly negative, and if these were the names the league was planning to use, it's probably better they sit down and have a rethink after all. You really can't rush a good brand. All right, let's start to wrap up this extended flash report with a couple of other quick notes. The Global Series took place in Sweden this weekend, and it broke with a few NHL conventions. Teams taking part in special event games like this always wear special jersey patches, and these events always have presenting sponsors, but never that I can recall has the jersey patch incorporated the sponsor. The patches are always clean versions of the logo. That all changed when the sponsor's logo appeared on the patches of the players' jerseys and on the helmets of the Detroit Red Wings players as well. Whatever internal rule the NHL had about sponsor logos in event patches has apparently been relaxed, probably because jersey and helmet advertising has become a regular thing in the NHL these last few years. On a more positive shoulder patch note, since they were in Sweden, the Maple Leafs broke out the Borje Salming design from last season to replace the All-Star patches. Very nice touch for a great event. In addition, you may have noticed the Leafs wearing blue helmets with their white jerseys. Apparently, this is a new thing the league just approved. Road teams may now wear their dark helmets, providing they don't clash with the opposing team's helmets. So we may be seeing a lot more of this. For the record, the Hurricanes have been doing this for a while now, going back to last season, first on December 22nd in a game against Pittsburgh. They experimented with it a dozen more times for the last half of the season, and so far this year they have yet to wear their white helmets at all. Surprisingly, while a lot of teams have red in their color schemes, only 2 others use red helmets. Can you name them off the top of your head? Answers at the end of this video, so stick with me just a little bit longer. We only have a few more items to go. The New York Rangers have still not released their 3rd jersey, which already leaked, of course. You can see my previous video for that. But it should be made official very soon. Players have started to practice with new navy blue gloves and helmets. Breaking in new gear is always a key part of a new jersey launch, especially when they're not using standard colors. The Rangers' next home game is Saturday, November 25th. Could we see a same-day launch for Thanksgiving weekend? And lastly, we'll wrap up with something I found a bit interesting from last week. The Calgary Flames were in Toronto for the annual Hockey Hall of Fame game against the Leafs on November 10th. In support of new inductee Mike Vernon, the Flames had on something special for warm-ups. Every player wore his name and number 30. It's a nice touch and fairly common when a player is being honored in some way. We see it from various teams every year. What's interesting about this year is that special warm-up jerseys were banned league-wide over the summer by a certain Mr. Bettman. So the Flames seem to have found a loophole. Apparently, as long as you're wearing your normal jersey, you can mess around with the number and nameplate. So what's stopping teams from showing other types of support, say with lavender or camo nameplates for Hockey Fights Cancer or Military Appreciation, or maybe even rainbow numbers for Pride Night? Just saying, it does seem to be an option now. I hope other teams take note. Okay, that's all I've got, so let's answer the quiz question. The only other 2 NHL teams using red helmets besides the Canes, that would be the Red Wings and Flames. How'd you do? Thanks again for watching this extended flash report. Be sure to subscribe to the Icethetics channel so you don't miss out on any future updates. That's all for now. See you next time.